the stuff that great Aussie yarn is made of. But there is another type of great Aussie yarn, and although it's spun, it's got nothing to do with the golden fleece, but it does have a lot to do with the golden shovel. This highly prized trophy for the world's best yarn spinner was first won in 1966 in Alice Springs when Frank Hardy knocked off Tall Tale Tex Tyrrell. And it was Frank Hardy that inspired this year's winner of the World Yarn Spinning Championships held in Darwin last week.
Only joking, Mother Teresa, he said, only joking, but too late she drowned and that was it, she was gone.
It's been a long time since the coveted golden shovel for the world's best yarn spinner has graced a home in the Northern Territory where the competition has its origins. When the World Yarn Spinning Championships were revived last year, after a break of nearly a quarter of a century, the prize went to New South Wales, to one-time prickle farmer Mike Hayes. Mike wasn't prepared to relinquish the shovel easily.
And of course the American woman, all of a sudden the magic of the afternoon had gone. And she was horrified and she came running back down the path from Tom and Jack's dunny, saying, Howard, oh, it's disgusting in there. It's so unsanitary. There isn't even a lock on the door. And Howard was a bit embarrassed. But he felt he had to put up some sort of defence in his wife's honour. So he said, is this true, Tom and Jack, that over here in Australia you never lock the John? And old Jack Greenwood thought for a minute and he said, well, Howard, tell you the truth, never seen the need to. In 72 years we've only had 3 pans pinched and 2 of them weren't full.
The competition was fierce. Queensland's Bill Hay, at 73, had years of experience and a few titles under his belt. The Yahoo from the Barcoo, as he's known, had clinched the yarn spinning competitions at both the Stockman's Hall of Fame in Queensland and Tamworth's Country Music Festival.
So I moseyed over and I've had a listen, see? And I'm listening to this bloke, and he said, officer, he said, I slowed down. And the officer said, well, it said stop, didn't it? But officer, he said, I slowed right down. He said, well, the sign says stop. He said, what's the difference? He said, $60.50. And the bloke threw his arm there, he said, officer, he said, I'm a poor preacher. He said, I know, I heard you last Sunday.
And one day, when I was 5 years old, Dad won 2 kegs of beer up the pub. And he decided to organise a come and pee on the paspalum in the paddock at Pa's place party for all his pals.
The Coonawarra kid, Peter Steele, had youth on his side. A supply officer with the Navy's HMAS Coonawarra, Peter calls himself a DNB. That, he says, stands for a damn nice bloke.
We had 2 sessions to take 8 wickets to win the test. As the non-recognised fieldsman, I fielded only at first, second slip, wideish mid-on leg, gully leg slip, and of course deep fine leg, although usually only 3 during the same ball.
And finally, Kevin Norton, known as the Northern Gnome, a journalist with the ABC in Darwin.
We all know that the book was dreadfully wrong. For there is no greater legend in Australian football than that man from Bathurst Island, Patrick Purantarameri, the prodigious punt kicker from Polarumpi, who pinched the premiership when he pierced the perpendiculars with a prodigious punt from the pocket. The back pocket. On Gardens Oval he was. Cyclone Tracy was just ripping through the sky. Again and again they'd had a kick and some of them had only gone about 90 yards. But Patrick Purantarameri unleashed the ball onto his boot. It sailed into the breeze and would have gone further had it not collected a fridge, 6 eggs and 2 kilograms of butter. But the kicker's gone 458 yards, which is not bad because he was going against the breeze.
I like getting up and being able to develop a character. I mean, Patrick Purantarameri, the prodigious punt kicker, just rings true memories for me of the great footballers of Bathurst and Melville Island, and I like to relate that through a yarn.
Scintillating Sam Smith, the sensational super chamois salesman, sold super chamois on the sales circuit for 16 years and made squillions. So good was scintillating Sam's show circuit sales spiel that nobody could resist. He could talk anybody into buying the super chamois because they normally sold in shops for $16.60, but from Sam just $6. And that wasn't all. For every super chamois you bought, he threw in a bonus, a second super chamois, and there was more. With the second super chamois, you also got a small semi-chamois for use in the sink. So good was his spiel that when the cops pulled him over for speeding, he drove off with a driving commendation. When he went to confession, he walked out with a sainthood and the priest did his penance for him.
Usually at 3:30 in the morning I wake up and I say, geez, what a bloody good idea. But if you sit down and try and deliberately write a yarn, it always fails. But if you're just walking along the street or wake up in the morning and it comes to you just the one idea, you wake up, you write it down and you work on it.
Well, Sam Smith was a proud and confident man. He didn't like to lose all his dollars and cents. He was broke, overcome with grief and depression. I shall never forget that night on Sydney Harbour Bridge as I saw the silhouette of scintillating Sam Smith against the sunset of Sydney, suicide written all over his face. As he prepared to jump, a divine moment came upon us all. Mother Teresa was driving past in a silver sedan and she stopped to check out scintillating Sam. Mother Teresa walked over to this forlorn figure and started to talk to him. And talk she did. Then after a while, from a distance, I noticed that Sam's confidence was coming back. His chest was puffed out and his face was joyous. Yes, scintillating Sam was giving a spiel to Mother Teresa. And together, they jumped off the bridge.
It took 6 gruelling rounds to sort the 4 finalists into order, and that's not counting the heats.
Well, so far I've been through about 17 yarns. Each one takes about 2 hours to write and probably about 30 years of rotten experience in funny places to make sure you've got the right stories. But having written them, you've got to learn them. And learning them's one thing, but after 6 beers you've forgotten half of it. You've got to make it up as you go.
Out of 300 points, he managed to get 284, Kevin Norton, and John Jack is going to present the prize.
The shovel is back where it belongs and it'll stay here for bloody ever. Long live Darwin.
A new tender will probably be announced in the next fortnight, and there's expected to be increased interest and competition from New Zealand processors because of the restrictions currently placed on the US market. At the end of the week, the price for export cattle rose marginally to 206 cents a kilo. The price for trade cattle was up. Trading finished at 212 cents a kilo. The limited supply of good trade cattle at Dubbo and across New South Wales forced some buyers to markets as far away as South Australia. Firm demand resulted in prices remaining stable in all markets except for Western Australia, where increased yarding saw